And now it's time to preview an upcoming game with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at another Dice Tower preview of an upcoming or currently running Kickstarter game. That game is Infected by Ryan Leacock, and this is a game in which players are starting out as humans trying to fight off wounded zombies. But throughout the game they can become bitten and become zombies. They can switch sides and become a bandit, alternating between the zombie and the human factions in order to try and best play both sides, and are trying to outlast their competitors. The humans trying to outlast the zombies and the bandits, the zombies trying to outlast the humans and the bandits bandits trying to either kill both a zombie and a human or be the last man standing. They're going to do this by playing cards. They can have different weapons, different abilities, different team and personal benefits, and we'll be trying to stay alive as long as possible. So real quick, why don't we take a look and see what you're going to get inside of the box, with a reminder that this is a prototype, not a final quality game. We're going to see how the game plays, and then we'll come back here at the end, and I'll give you a summary of the project. So here you can see the components for Infected. Now, just a reminder, these are prototype quality components, and several things will change in the final version of the game. Of course, there'll be different art for many of these player boards. The art on the cards that you see might change, or probably will change, and the symbols on these dice are likely to change. So many things may change, but the gameplay that I'm going to represent in this video will remain pretty much the same. Now, what we're looking at here is we have a player's board. This player here is Christina. She starts at 13 life, and other players will have boards much like this with different characters on them, but each of them will have a similar layout, and they'll have the same spots on their board in order to place cards, and a turn order in order to tell them how they're going to take their turns. The game plays 3 to 8 players, so you'll have many players on a team, and they all start the game cooperatively trying to kill the wounded zombies that are out on the table. You'll see right here we have 2 wounded zombies, and they each start with 7 health. They start with 7 health because this is a 5-player game, and all of that information is available in the setup for the rulebook. It tells you how many zombies you start with and how much health each one of them has. As I said, all of the players are working cooperatively at the start of the game in order to try and kill these 2 zombies, but that will quickly change. Players will be using their abilities and their weapons in order to do this. Each player at the start of the game will get a weapon, and there are several weapon cards here. You can see we can have an axe, a banjo, there's a golf club, we have a frying pan, a shovel, and many other weapons, and you'll get dealt one of these at the start of the game. They're simply for thematic purposes here. You'll place your weapon on your board. They all act the same at the start of the game, but you can upgrade these weapons as the game goes on. Each player will also get an ability. Now these do affect how your character plays, and each player will get dealt 2 of these, and they'll choose one of them to keep for their ability in the game. You'll see that these give you different benefits. For example, at any time, you may discard 2 cards from your hand to negate 1 damage. This could be really good if you're going to get damaged. It's going to take you to a place in terms of health that you don't want to be, perhaps dead. So you can discard 2 cards from your hand to prevent that. Or, at any time, you may discard 2 cards from your hand and heal yourself 1. So this is kind of a similar ability, but it allows you to recover health rather than prevent the damage. We also have something like once per round, you may force a player to discard down to 2 cards instead of down to 3. Now this one's a little bit kind of counterintuitive because you're thinking, hey, we're working as a team. But eventually you may not want to, and you'll have this ability to force them to get rid of some cards they could otherwise use. Let's take a look at one more. This one says you may reroll one extra reroll each turn. So we'll see that you're going to get to reroll some dice. This will give you an extra reroll on your turns as a special ability throughout the game. So we'll say that our player Christina had the choice of you can have an extra reroll each turn, or you may choose to skip your turn in order to heal 3 damage. We'll decide that she chooses that she has an extra reroll every turn and place that in her ability section of her board. All of our other players would likewise choose one of 2 different abilities, and then we'd begin the game. The first way you're going to start is you're going to roll all 6 of these dice to see which player gets to go first. The player that rolls the most attacks, which in this case is this claw, is going to be the first player of the game. So they'd take all 6 dice and roll them, and they'll see how many claws they get. Our player here only got 2. They're likely not first, but for the purposes of this explanation, we'll say they rolled 5, and that's more than anyone else rolled. To start the game, they're going to take 3 of these dice, and they're going to roll them on their turn. And we can follow the turn order down here. First is roll dice. When they roll their dice, they're going to have 3 potential different results. It could be a claw, which is doing a point of damage right now to the wounded zombies if they wanted to. There are cards, which would allow you to draw cards from this deck. We'll cover those shortly. And there are these hypodermic needles, which are going to allow you to heal damage that you've taken. Now, at the beginning of the game, she likely doesn't want to heal any damage, so she could say, hey, I have rerolls, I want to reroll this die, and she can reroll as many of them as she wants one time normally, but since she has a special ability, she can do it twice. So she decides to reroll this die and gets a needle again. Well, that's not what she wants still, and she has an extra reroll, so she'll go ahead and use it. Unfortunately, she rolls a needle a third time, so she's stuck with this set of dice after her rerolls. Once we've got our roll, we're going to go ahead and take our actions in a specific order. The first is that she's going to heal. Well, she hasn't taken any damage, but she does have one heal. Unfortunately, this is of no use to her, and she sets it aside. She would then attack, and she's going to look and see how many attack dice she has. She has one, and she has to deal that damage to one of the wounded zombies. Right now, there are no other things to deal damage to, no player zombies, and no bandits. So we'll see how those come about later. But right now, she has to deal it to a wounded zombie, and if there were still wounded zombies and player zombies, she would still have to kill the wounded zombies first. Anyhow, she's going to deal her 1 damage to one of the zombies out here, and set that die aside. Finally, she's going to move on to drawing cards, and she draws 1 card. She would take that from the top of this deck, but I'm going to give you an example of what types of cards are in there. So, let's take a look at a few examples. You've already seen a basic weapon, the frying pan here, but there are other weapons you can draw. For example, this one here is an assault rifle. We'll let it focus for just a second. The assault rifle says on it that you can add 1 damage to your total dice attack. So in future attacks, she'd be able to use this weapon and deal 1 extra damage when she did an attack. You'll note that these cards have 2 sides. That's because if you get turned into a zombie by being bitten, more on that momentarily, you'll have a special ability as a zombie. This one says that she may split her damage amongst multiple targets when she does it. Usually you must deal all of your damage to 1 target, but if she were to roll multiple, she could split it amongst multiple targets, being multiple human players if she'd been turned into a zombie. So that is a possible card she could draw, a weapon. She could also draw what is a personal ability. So this is a personal ability here. It's called a wood trap. We can see it here. And the wood trap says that it deals 1 damage back to anybody that attacks you. Alternatively, if you are a zombie and you draw this card and use it, it says that you steal a card from your attacker's hand. So anytime someone attacks you, you get to steal a card from them. The third type of card you can draw is a team ability, and as you might have noticed, everybody is on a team at the start of the game, cooperating to kill the wounded zombies. But, as I said, when you draw cards, there's actually a chance that you can change what team you're on. If you draw a bitten card, which will be in the 5-player game in the first 16 or so cards of these deck, it's actually 17 cards of this deck, you might draw this bitten card. This will immediately turn you into a zombie. Being turned into a zombie will flip your player board over, so all of these player boards are double-sided. On the other side, it will say Zombie Christina for Christina. All of your cards would also flip over. The ability will stay the same. You'll note that these aren't different on each side, but your weapon will change into claws, and you'll now have claws to go on as a mutation for your zombie. In addition, any of the cards you had previously played, if you had an upgraded weapon, it would flip to the zombie side, or if you had a upgraded personal, it would flip to the zombie side, and you would now have that ability for your zombie. You would keep your health the same, but you'd now be on an opposing team, being a zombie trying to take out all of the humans, working with the wounded zombies in order to try and be alive after all of the humans are dead. Alternatively, a little bit later in the game, you can draw a different type of card, and that is a bandit card. Drawing a bandit card will change you into a bandit, and you can choose at the start of your turns which team you want to be on, humans or the zombies. So you're kind of a wild card, able to switch between both sides. When you do so, if you're on the zombie team, you'll be treated like a zombie, attacking the humans and trying to be alive. If you switch to the human team, you'll be treated like a human, attacking the zombies, trying to stay alive. So it's opposite. You always choose which side you're on and try and kill the opposing side in order to maintain staying alive, and hopefully being the last person standing. So that's your goal as the bandit. Either be the last person standing, or kill 1 person from each team, humans and zombies. So you'll see throughout the game that the teams can kind of shift. You'll have humans at the beginning, but eventually player zombies, and a bandit who shifts between the 2 teams. Likewise, there are cards that can help out teams. So for example, this green card here is a team card and goes on this green space. When you draw one of these, it's going to affect how your team plays. For example, this one says that humans now roll 4 dice. Each human can have their own team card to benefit their team, and likewise, each zombie can have their own zombie team card to benefit them. The bandit benefiting from whichever side they choose to be on currently. This one for the zombie side says that zombies may pass 2 cards on their turn. We haven't shown passing yet, but this would allow them to pass more cards between the players. Finally, we have two types of more instant or action cards. We have cards that can only be used on a player's turn as an action. This one right here is a stealing card, which allows you to steal a card from a zombie hand or in play. So you can take a card from them in order to put it into your own hand and use it. Or, if you're a zombie, it says all zombies draw one card when it's played. This card can only be played on a player's turn. Unlike those, we have cards that can be played on anyone's turn. For example, this one right here, which is Gauze for the human players. It says heal yourself 2 health. If you're a zombie, however, the cards say heal any zombie player 1 health. So this is going to allow the zombies to help heal each other in order to not be eliminated by the humans. So when you draw your cards, you'll take them into your hand. Let's say that I drew this weapon, and I would then go ahead and have the option of playing cards. Now, as I said, the tan cards can be played on your turn only, the orange cards on anyone's turn, and then these other cards, the team, personal, and weapon abilities, or weapon cards, can be played towards the end of your turn. They'll go onto your card, they'll replace whatever's already there, but they won't become active until basically your next turn, or the end of your current turn. Once you're done with that, if you have cards in your hand, you can pass one to one of your teammates, putting it out and giving it to them in order to use. And they may equip that immediately, between turns essentially, in order to give them bonuses to use on their turn. Finally, at the end of your turn, you must discard down to 3 cards, and then you would pass the dice to the next player, who would start their own turn. There are a few special rules for the bandit player that becomes the bandit, or multiple bandit players if you're playing with more players in the game. These are as follows. If a bandit happens to kill a human or a zombie player, they get all of the cards from that player. In addition, the team space on a bandit board can be used as a second personal space, so they can have 2 personal abilities. The reason for this is that they're kind of acting on their own. They're trying to play both sides in order to be the last man standing or to eliminate both a human and a zombie player and win the game. Also, if all of the humans are eliminated, the bandit must play as a human in order to try and accomplish their goal, and likewise, if all of the zombies are eliminated, the bandit must play as a zombie to try and kill the humans. And so, therefore, you're going to have to try and move back and forth smartly with that bandit player in order to win the game. Now, as I said, the ways to win are as humans to eliminate all of the zombies, wounded, and player, as well as the bandit. Likewise, the zombies want to kill all of the humans and the bandit in order to survive, whereas the bandit must either be the last man standing or eliminate both a human and a zombie player. The first team or person to accomplish their goal will win the game of Infected. Well, there you have it. That is Infected by Ryan Leacock. Now, this game plays 3 to 8 players, quite a large range, and the game scales based on the number of players you have. Some games will have more zombies. The more players you have, the more zombies you will have come up throughout the game. The same is true of bandits. The more players you have, the more bandits you'll have, except for in 4 or 6 player games, where you'll have no bandits, just zombies versus humans duking it out to be the last surviving. The game has many options that'll come up throughout play. It's going to be customized because you're going to be drawing new abilities potentially, although usually your ability will stay the same, but there is an ability that lets you get an extra card in place of that ability, new weapons, new team bonuses, and the ability to pass cards between players, and of course the personal bonuses that each player gets. So you're going to be trying to best utilize dice, decide when it's important to attack by rolling attacks and hopefully getting them, when it's best to re-roll those attacks in order to heal and try and keep yourself alive, or when you want to draw some cards, risking becoming a zombie or a bandit, or maybe intentionally trying to become a zombie or a bandit, but also trying to get some cards to allow you to survive better throughout the game. So if that sounds good to you, check it out. They're up on Kickstarter now, and I'm sure they'd be happy to have your support.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.